Awesome. Hello, everyone. Buenos dias a todos. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to be your host for Cafecito today. I have my Cafecito ready, and we have Jackie to share some insight on Latinas and in tech. My name is Stephanie Jacobo. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at ACE. I've been with ACE for 3 years and a half. And in this role, I have the opportunity to work with companies like Avanade and over 120 other companies, supporting them with their DEI strategies, connecting them with diverse talent, and also offering opportunities for them to continue to develop their team internally. So we're really excited about the conversation today. Again, we'll be talking about Latinas in tech. We do know that only 1% to 2% of Latinas make up the workforce in bigger corporations and technology. So there's definitely a lot of work for us to do in this industry to increase representation. And today we'll be talking just about that. We do know that our Latinas have been highly impacted by COVID. Many of them have left the workforce to take care of their families, and so we want to encourage them to get back into this industry, to pursue a career in technology, and offering them the opportunities to continue to develop those skills. So one of the things that we're excited to share with you all is ACE will be launching its first ever industry focused technology Mujeres de ACE cohort this May. And this will give an opportunity for our Latinas to network with one another and establish really that cohort, that support network for them of other Latinas that with similar backgrounds, and just learning from one another, but also developing their skills, their self-leadership skills. They will be paired with a professional coach, and they will also receive an insights assessment to identify areas of opportunity and continuous growth. But with that being said, and we will add the link in the chat for those of you that may be interested in this opportunity. We're still taking applications. I know we do also have 2 scholarships available, sponsored by United Airlines. So if you are interested, please do reach out to someone from the ACE Familia, and we're happy to help you. With that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to our conversation with Jackie Terrazas-Lopez. She is a data analyst consultant at Avanade. Welcome, Jackie. Thank you so much for your time today. We're excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Before we get started, and how I know Patricia Mota, our CEO, always likes to kick off these cafecitos is by sharing, how do you prefer your cafecito in the morning, or do you have a different drink of preference in the morning?
Definitely coffee is my drink of choice. I always put it in a cup like this. It's portable, but I work from home, so I don't go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
But I'm a Keurig owner, so I use Café Bustelo K-Cups every
Yes.
morning, flash of oat milk, and then any sweetener I have in the fridge because I like it a little sweet.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I am a coffee drinker myself too. So I personally do not like hot coffee. So I sip on my coffee all day long. I know some people find that weird, but that's my preference. Awesome. Well, let's get right to it. We would love to learn more about you, Jackie. Can you tell us a little bit about your cultural and professional background? I know you were sharing with me a little bit about, your upbringing. We would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'm a first gen graduate, which means a lot just based out of the experience that I had straight out of high school and going into college and starting my career. My mom was born in Managua, Nicaragua, and my dad was born in Cochabamba, Bolivia. So, they both moved to the US, started completely from scratch, met at a gas station somehow by chance, and started a family. So I am the baby of 3. I have 2 other siblings, a brother and a sister. And yeah, I mean, the guidance my parents gave us from the get go was that the sky was the limit, which really meant to me that it was kind of up to me to figure out what I wanted to do. You know, they didn't want to limit us, but they did want to make sure we found careers where we could be financially independent and, you know, just not have to have a more difficult life, since that's something that they led. They wanted better for us. So, what that really meant, like for me, was through high school, really figuring out what did I want to do for a living. I knew it had to be, you know, something that could help me get by and something that I wouldn't get bored in was like the main thing at the time. And eventually, what that meant was attending a community college. I wanted an affordable education. So I went there after a year of, I took a break after high school. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So went took a break. Not everyone goes back to college after that, but I still managed to get there, and then transferred to a 4 year once I had a better understanding of computer information systems. That's what my degree is. And I took a lot of opportunities during my senior year at that 4 year. I got a lot more confident in how I could speak with people, interact. You know, doing career fairs in person was something I was super anxious about when I was in college, and the one that I very, you know, kind of pushed myself to go to was actually the one that ended up landing me an internship with the Navy doing data analysis. So that's really how it kind of kickstarted. Um, and then Avanade, the company that where I'm working at currently, they do a Women in STEM scholarship. And I saw that opportunity available on our scholarships portal in college and figured why not apply to it. You know, I felt like I met all of the qualifications, had to do kind of an essay for it, and I got the scholarship, which was a great experience for me. I didn't even know something like that existed, right?
Mhm.
For minority women in STEM in particular. So that also helped me get a better understanding of consulting as a whole, because consulting, it's kind of its own thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, being in tech consulting now, I can say I'm so grateful that I landed here because I'm never bored. That's definitely the one thing that I didn't want, and I'm never bored here. But yeah, I was sent an offer before I even graduated college, and so I've been kind of set for a bit, and now been with Avanade for almost a year and a half now, with one promotion under my belt and going for a second one. So
I love
yeah,
it.
that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing. One of the things that stood out to me is you mentioned how you took a year, after high school. I feel like, for especially for first gen students, I feel like it is important, to take time because there's a lot of pressure that comes, in choosing a career and feeling like that's what you're going to do the rest of your life. So I feel like it is important if you're not introduced to different career opportunities early on, to take some time to really identify and make sure that it's a passion of yours, that you're not just choosing a career for the money, or like, because I feel like a lot of first gen students do go for like the big titles or go for the careers that are paying the most at the time, and making those decisions and then finding out that that is not, where their strengths lie or where their passions align. So I love that you share, you took some time for yourself to identify which route you wanted to take. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Can you talk a little bit about, uh, your Avanade's mission and how that aligns with the partnerships like ASE? If in your early, career, either in high school or in college, were you introduced with organizations like ASE? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So one of Avanade's current goals are kind of centered around one Avanade and being able to work collaboratively, succeed, fail together as one, right? And we're pushing kind of this culture for growth. What that usually looks like or ends up looking like is really supporting employee networks and supporting smaller communities within the company, so people feel supported, educated, and able to professionally develop themselves and personally. So the partnership with ASE kind of came naturally because I think ASE shares a lot of those same goals in professionally developing Latinos specifically, but also just giving them access and education to the opportunities available. So I thought that partnership really goes hand in hand. But honestly, outside of that, like just the awareness portion of it and understanding what opportunities are available is huge. So I this is why I like to do things like this. Is when I was in college, I knew about that scholarship, but only because I took the time to even see what scholarships were available in the portal. But there's only so many applicants that actually get that far, right? So many of us are busy with other things, and if they're working and going to college, so I had heard about it from somebody else who heard about it from someone else, and so on and so forth. So it's really pushing that, pushing that awareness through things, initiatives like ASE, and programs like ASE, really helps with that. So I actually was not familiar with ASE when I was in college, so I feel like I missed out, But this is kind of my way of like, let me share more about these organizations that exist that are really here to help us ultimately.
Yeah, well, I will say it's never too late to join the ASE Familia, Jackie. So you're now part of the familia, and there will be many opportunities throughout, later in time. So never too late. The other thing that, and I do want to just let our audience know if they do have questions to start asking those. We'll make some time for those towards the end. But as these questions start coming up, please do bring those up. But let's talk about specifically Latinas in tech. How can we increase opportunities for Latinas to get into this career path? And also, even you now you're in the industry. Like as you continue to move up in your career, how can either ASE or companies support those skills to continue furthering your career?
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways that I see it, and they're, both kind of responsibilities or obligations of myself being a Latina in tech, but also for companies and organizations. I feel like early exposure is huge. That was really big for me coming into this. I had super early exposure in that it was me just having a brother who was 5 years older than me. When we were younger, I played with Barbies and he was playing with his Super Nintendo. And I was interested in the video games because I was like, that's fun to watch. That seems cool. But I was otherwise playing with traditionally female toys, right? And over time, that hobby really became like my main hobby. I enjoyed video games. I actually built my own computer in high school, senior year, for gaming. So when I was thinking during that year off, and I was really thinking about what I wanted to do, I was like, well, I never get bored of playing on my computer. I don't get bored of learning about the latest technology. I was really into esports, so competitive video games and whatnot. And I just knew I had to do something within technology, had to do with, some computer. I was very computer savvy. And I eventually landed on like a Forbes article about data analysis just randomly. And that's kind of how it kickstarted my interest in data analysis, because it really bridges technology and business, which I really liked. But I sometimes wonder if I didn't have a brother who was showing me more traditional male hobbies, would that have changed anything? And I think definitely nowadays that stigma is less, right? I think there's still work to do, but gendered hobbies and stuff like that are kind of in the past. So I'm happy about that. But I think that early exposure of just letting women know what opportunities are out there, that you may have written off because they're not traditionally you, or you just don't think that you would adhere to something like that, could really make a change. So
Yeah.
sometimes I do thank my brother just for his existence and interest in video games, because I do feel like that's kind of what brought me into tech. But the second part of it is also just honestly the awareness part again, because I mean, and it's awareness not in just reposting, this is the jobs that are available, right? But sharing your story and opportunities where, like, if somebody was a major in accounting, but they still managed to get to tech, we want to hear about those kinds of
Mhm.
stories. I think women in general, but probably Latinas as well, feel like they have to check so many boxes in
Mhm.
order to get into tech. Like, you have to be an expert in Python or SQL, etc. And you really don't. There's so many great companies that will teach you along the way, which is really what I liked about Avanade. I wanted to set a precedent for my career of just learning as much as I could. So it's opportunities like this where I want to share, we don't have to be experts beforehand, right? We can join this industry, learn along the way, and actually bring other facets, and skill sets that we may have that might not have even been in the job description, right? Soft skills, composure, etc. So it's really kind of those two main things, because I don't think women need any handicap. I think we're more than capable of joining this industry. We just need to know that it's out there, and we'll do it. I mean, we're making waves nowadays.
Yes, I love it. Mina says, "Eso, break the bias." That's amazing. Yes, I agree 100%. Any questions from the audience? I would now like to take some time to ask one or two questions for Jackie. Please pop this up. As those questions come in, Jackie, what are you hopeful for, or a positive story that gives you hope for this year and beyond, especially for as it pertains for Latinas?
Yeah. I guess it's not so much a story, but a trend I've been noticing is how we're really changing what work looks like, or, how we feel like we bring value through our work. And what I mean by that is this shift of work life balance and really focusing on the life aspect of it. You mentioned that a lot of Latinas have left the workforce after COVID because they have to stay home with children, etc. I would want to see that work life balance is changed so that they can still work and manage family along with that, right? So I've
Yes.
noticed this trend where that's definitely changing, with hybrid working and work from home in general. So I'm excited for myself, being early career, and seeing how I
Mhm.
can change what work looks like. My parents are still amazed that I sit behind a computer all day, but they're so grateful for it, I think. So
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. We have a question from Ronnie. She loves that you're a gamer. What's your favorite game?
my favorite game of all time is Mario Kart. Any
Yes.
on any console, I feel like I'm the best, but that's just me. Mario Kart always.
That's a classic. I love that one too. What advice do you have for parents or first gen students looking to attend university for a career in tech?
For parents specifically, that's a great question.
Mhm.
When I was getting into like applying and financial aid, that whole process is very difficult. My parents were not computer savvy, so they relied on me to fill out the FAFSA and make sure I remembered their passwords and et cetera. I've noticed that that's very common for first gen students. So if you have the bandwidth, if you have the ability to um, bring knowledge to yourself on what that process looks like and kind of help your student through that, I think that would be huge, because a career in tech really, like, you have to be savvy with some of that stuff from the get-go. So it can be easy to be a little bit overwhelmed, but just sharing with them how you can look for these opportunities, what is available, what resources are available, to actually find your niche in tech, because tech is kind of huge, it's very broad. But definitely, just in general, the kind of financial aid side of it, having to apply, etc. That's one of the biggest pieces. Really, really teaching them the research side of it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And then we'll take this last question. How do you read the job description and not get scared away by those hard skills? I think you mentioned this earlier, especially us as Latinas, we feel like we have to check off all the boxes in those, descriptions in order to apply. And then the second part to that question is knowing that you can learn, but convincing a potential employer of your potential fields like another barrier for some of us.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something that I'm still working through, because in consulting, you take on new projects every time, and each project has new skills. And sometimes I see, an expert in SQL, and I get a little weary about that. Um, for the first part, to just not be scared and get a little bit more confident in what you don't know, I do the slightest amount of research on what that technology is beforehand, so I at least understand how it relates to the job in this case,
Mhm.
or to the project in my case, just so I know how to piece those things together. But then convincing the potential employer about that, or in my case, the potential project manager, is really about composure. Like, own what you don't know. but recognize that you're more than capable of learning this, or you're excited to learn X, Y, and Z. And even focusing on some of the things that you do feel really, really confident in. So, if it's for me, it's a SQL heavy project, but I understand data analysis and business and solving business problems with data analysis. I'm going to focus on that a little bit more, and my excitement over that, but also the learning side of it. Definitely. But it is kind of like a mindset thing. At some point you're like convincing yourself like, no, I can absolutely do this. But it's the way that you compose yourself and show that to an employer or project manager that really changes something.
Yes, I love it. Own what you don't know. That's powerful right there. I feel like a lot of us have a challenge with imposter syndrome too, and never feeling like you're good enough. So, really taking the time to recognize your own skills and that we all have an opportunity to continue learning and growing. So, thank you so much, Jackie,
Of
for
course.
sharing those tips and that your story. Anything you want to leave our audience with before we end this cafecito con Ace?
The only thing I will end off is network with other women in tech, or just professional Latinas in any industry. Like I've gained so much inspiration and role models just from listening to other women's stories, and it's really uplifting to see someone that represents similarly to me be so successful and learn about their story. So, ask somebody, reach out to someone on LinkedIn, find out what their story was like, because I promise you will learn something, or be inspired by something when hearing their stories.
Yeah, thank you so much again. For those of you that are on the call and want to get to know Jackie, I know she will be joining us at our 40th National Leadership Summit on April 21st and 22nd, coming from California to Chicago. So we're looking forward to seeing you here, Jackie, next month, and looking forward to your continued growth and supporting that at Avanade, and continuing the partnership with you all as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day.